there. All right. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you do well. I'm looking suitably stupid, so it must be Christmas. Bloody hell. So yeah, I hope you're really good. I hope you've had a good week. I hope your Christmas shopping is pretty much done. Mine isn't. I've got a long way to go. And I decided to basically do something a little bit different. No guests tonight, obviously, for uh basically so close to Christmas. I thought it wouldn't be fair. So I've basically it's just me. So tonight you have my company. You only have my company, which means I'm gonna be really, really, really reliant on you guys. Um we're still gonna have lots and lots of chat and questions and things like that. Obviously, it's a really good opportunity for you at home to fire away any questions you guys have. Um, by all means, I'm going to try and get through as many as I can. I've got a couple of little things planned as well. So I do have a little thing in terms of I'm going to be talking a bit about some of my favorite and not so favorite locations around the country. So we're going to go have a little look at some of the most haunted places I've been to. About 12 of them I've sorted. Called this 12 scares of Christmas. Not that they were all scary, I've got to say. And I'll also finish with a bit of a Christmas story. Yeah, not really. I mean, basically, I'm going to be talking about a bit of a legend, kind of like it's meant to be a true ghost story, but I don't know. So we'll basically go through something from an area of the country where I'm from, which is Northamptonshire, and I was just looking around for a good, decent Christmas ghost story, which is not been made up, is apparently true, and so I can basically share it with you guys at home. So I'm gonna go a lot through the chat tonight. So because I'm pretty sure that what I've got planned won't take that long. I've got to say, it's just gonna be me waffling along. So hey to Jamie, hey to Diane, as ever, Kay, hello. Welcome. I can just start seeing you guys in the chat. So thank you very much. And Cobalt Dragon, thank you. Residential Haunting, hi Ian, and Phil is in. Hi Phil, hope you're doing well. So yeah, it's nice to see some familiar names. I'm really kind of enjoying the fact that obviously I've not been started this podcast that long, and it's nice to see some familiar names coming in and having a little bit of a following, a bit of an exclusive following, and yeah, it's just nice. I mean, and I hope that, but over time, and things can grow and things can adapt and change, and I'll add things and I'll try things out and I'll remove things if things not working. Hey, Paragon F1, hello. Jamie, broken hand. Jesus, what the hell are you doing, Jamie? Yeah, like I say, I hope you're well. Alex, I've already got a few guests planned ready for January. Obviously, so I think we come back on the 8th of January, just kind of put it in diaries and things. I'm going to be talking to Paul and I'm going to be talking to A. Esau from Haunted Magazine. That's the very first one. I'm going to do it 8th of January. And then I've got, hopefully, I can grab hold of a couple of guys or maybe one or two of the people from the UK Paranormal Society are going to be coming in talking about the society and their role of that. And I've got Amy Butcher talking all about Shropshire coming in as well. Tim, yeah, tell me about it. I'm looking suitably stupid is what I'm doing. Merry Christmas, everybody. I hope. The thing is, this is the only time you'll ever see me wear anything as absolutely ridiculous as this. I've got to say, it's completely, utterly mad. An elf. Yeah, I don't know. This is going to do my head in really quickly. I've got to say, it's going to absolutely do my head in tonight. But yeah, I hope I hope everybody at home is really well. And like I said, I don't want to wasn't going to do any more after tonight. I think by now you'll be more than used to kind of seeing me every Monday. And it's just now obviously time for family time and stuff, isn't it? Weekends and on weekends and change my name to Stardust. That's only a weekend thing, Phil. You should know that. Absolutely. Oh dear. Dudley Moore. I remember the Santa Claus the movie reference coming in. I know. Oh dear. What? Thank you, guys. Thank you for your support at this time. Okay, so what I'm going to do is tonight I'm going to start off, and I've called this the 12 scares of Christmas. I know it's a bit stupid, but the 12 scares of Christmas. What I've decided to do is uh, basically just go through a couple of the, or 12 of the locations that I've been to. I think I've been to all bar one, I think. And you'll probably see the reason why there's one missing. So these are some of my favorite locations around the country that I've been to. By all means, obviously, in the chat bit later on, it'd be really nice to get an idea from you guys, which is your favorite haunted location in this country, for whatever reason. It could be good or bad, because some of the locations I've chosen were just rubbish. For those that don't realize, before I did this podcast game, I was going around the country as part of a as part of a YouTube channel called Paranormal Truth. And we did that for a good few years, and we went around a whole range of different places. Prior to that, I worked for a ghost event company. So I'm a bit well versed in terms of places around the country. So let's go through it. So here is my first. Now, actually, no, I'm gonna start with. Actually, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna whiz through there. I'm gonna start with Stocksbridge Bypass. Brilliant ghost story, and one involves a monk that was seen by a police officer, I believe, when this road was being built in South Yorkshire, and I think near Sheffield. And we decided to basically do an investigation. I don't know why. We decided to do an investigation at Stocksbridge Bypass. It was the most boring place. It's literally, obviously, like a flyover over a motorway. We were looked at by farmers, and we were looked at by people just going, "What are you doing?" We had a whole thing set up, and yeah, great story. We just hung around a road and some pylons for a night, and absolutely nothing happened. But yeah, a bit of a strange one. Stocksbridge Bypass, like I say, great story. In reality, not so good. Okay. I'm gonna, like I say, you'll see some of these so some of these locations I've chosen for different reasons. So Bury Pomeroy Castle down in Devon. Uh, Great place, an amazing place, well worth visiting. It's got a whole raft of ghost stories. There's meant to be a blue lady, a woman in white who's meant to be one of the old Pomeroy family. And there's meant to be, I think, the Cavalier is meant to be there, and the blue lady, the ghost of the blue lady, is supposed to get people lost, like you meant to follow her. She kind of leads you into different places, and the white lady is supposed to hang around near the dungeon. And as a young lad of about 15, I decided, me and my mates, we would go to Bury Pomeroy Castle, and we did. We had a look around during the day, but we might have tried to break in the evening, which we did, which is not good, which is very against my ethics right now. But yes, we did kind of sneak in because there was some building work, and it was really easy to sneak in. No women in white, no blue ladies. It was just me and my mates. Although the scariest thing, walking across the courtyard in the middle of Bury Pomeroy Castle, and an owl swooped over my head. I absolutely shat myself because, yeah, I wasn't expecting it. But yeah, well worth going to see Bury Pomeroy Castle if you're down in Devon. Beautiful place. Like I say, it's got absolutely loads and loads of haunted history. I think there's like 4 or 5 different ghosts, if not more, that's supposed to haunt the place. Well worth checking out if you're down that way. Okay, what's next? Oh, Woodchester Mansion, Gloucestershire. What a place this is. If you've not been to Woodchester Mansion, I was well worth checking out. It's an amazing building. All kind of like half finished. Nothing's. I mean, again, it's got a great lot of ghost stories around it. Some very, very, very unusual things were going on that in Woodchester Mansion. Prior to last year, I'd never been, and I went with a few people from UK Paranormal Society. Didn't film anything, and then we I also had a little tour with Chris Howley. Now, Chris Howley, I don't know if you remember. Some of you may or may not remember, but he's at the minute he's doing a little paranormal road trip with him and his missus, and Chris Howley went there when he was part of a TV series called Ghost Chasers. He's very much linked with Woodchester. He's never out of the place, to be honest. And I was with him doing a little investigation at the very top part of Woodchester Mansion, in an area which he really, really didn't like because apparently at one point he was taken over, like properly possessed by something dark, malevolent. I was with him, and he wasn't making it up. He was absolutely terrified, um, really scared of the area we was in. Did not like the atmosphere of the place, but yeah, very very interesting. Everything's kind of half finished. Um, Basically, I think they ran out of money. The stonemasons just dropped tools and left, and that was, I think, in the 1800s. I think it was, and yeah, well worth checking out. I know there's been quite a few TV shows that's actually been there. I think there's one with uh, Jack Osborne. I think he went there as well and did a live TV thing there. Ghost Watchers is great, and yeah, so yeah, well worth checking out in Gloucestershire. Really, really nice place. Let's go for next. Oh, now the Royal Court Theatre in Backup, Lancashire, um, is one of those theatres. You can probably tell from the photo, actually. This theatre just oozed atmosphere, and I love an old theatre. So the Royal Court Theatre, it's kind of run down. The seats are faded, like well worn in. Things have not really been and changed that much. But a fascinating place. And I loved being behind the scenes late at night, 2, 3 in the morning, doing investigation there, just full of atmosphere, absolutely full of atmosphere. Went into one of the dressing rooms. Well, I was with a girl called a little lady called Louise, who was part of the ghost event company. And she said, just go into these dressing rooms. There's 3 dressing rooms, and just tell me if you pick up on anything in any of those rooms. So I went into the first one, nothing. I was expecting something to happen, wasn't really but then nothing happened. Second one, same thing, didn't really feel anything. Third one, walked in, every hair, it was like static electricity. Every hair went on the back of my neck, and I was checking it through. Obviously thinking, is there some kind of electrical appliance? Is some kind of generator? There was nothing. It was the weirdest feeling. And just in one of the changing rooms there, in one of the dressing rooms, it's well worth checking out. Fascinating place. And yeah, did that and loved it. And apparently one of the rooms there is completely sealed off now. But again, Louise in a previous visit had like poltergeist activity going on in this room. I think it's where they stored paint and bits and pieces like that and tools and stuff. And she had like a pot of paint thrown at her. Really fascinating place. And again, I'm dotting around to different places around the country. So if there's anywhere that's close to you, I would thoroughly recommend going to some of these places because they're just stunning. Okay, next. What have I got? Oh, Bodmin Jail. Like I said, I only went there a couple of years ago for the first time. If you're down in Cornwall, Bodmin Jail, Jamaica Inn have to be on your list of haunted places. Bodmin Jail just tips it for me just because of the size of the place, the history of the place, and it's got some obviously an amazing original areas of the jail there. You just sense the atmosphere in the place. You sense how bloody awful it would have been to be incarcerated in Bodmin Jail, full of ghost stories. Obviously, it's still got the long drop place where the hanging pit, as they call it, at Bodmin Jail. I know they've obviously been doing it up, but it should, like I say, if you're ever down in Cornwall area, I would say thoroughly recommend Bodmin Jail and Jamaica Inn. But I really, really enjoyed Bodmin Jail, and it's also where the whole Creed Cafer thing came from. So obviously, if you love Derek Acora, you've got to do a Creed Cafer impression, just like me and Dale did a little while back. Okay, what's next? Oh, man. Okay, the Drovers Inn. Amazing place near Loch Lomond in Scotland. And the room you can see there on the in the middle there at the top, that's meant to be the haunted room. I can't remember if it's haunted room 5 or room 6. And the drover's in. It's meant to be haunted by the little girl in the picture, which you might just be able to see on the left-hand side there. There's a little picture of a kind of slightly creepy girl. So that room's meant to be haunted by a girl who is supposed to have drowned in the nearby river, and they brought her body. They found her. They brought her body back to the drover's inn and laid her out. And supposedly the girl haunts this particular room. So I stayed in that room, and no ghostly children, and very comfortable. I would say there was like nothing at all, but I don't know. But woken, I was with a girlfriend at the time, and we were woken in the middle of the night to the sounds of groaning. And let me tell you, it was no ghost. It was the sound of a amorous couple above us, absolutely going for it. And yeah, beds were squeaking and creaking and gasping and groaning and God knows what else. Anyway, the next morning, this is the time of the year where there was not many people in the in the Drovers Inn. It was like us and like one other couple, the couple, and we went down for breakfast. And the other couple came in for breakfast, and they were the oldest, most elderly Canadian couple we'd ever seen. I mean, fair dues. They were. I'm surprised they didn't put a hip out or something, because they were proper going for it. Anyway, yeah, really interesting. And the Drovers Inn. It's definitely atmospheric. A lot of the building, if you ever go there, it looks kind of grimy and old, and they haven't redone it and rejigged it, and they modernized it. That it's very much in keeping with the time, and it's full of very dodgy looking taxidermy. So if you're not into stuffed animals, I'd probably not stay at the Drovers Inn. It is full of it. Whether that's slightly weird stuffed bears, pigeons, owls, badgers, foxes, deer, you name it, it's full of it. So yeah, well worth looking at Drovers Inn for different reasons. But if you can stay in that haunted room, you can just ask. Like I say, I think we went there in the November. There was not many people around, and so we could just take our pick. So it's well worth checking out. Okay, next. Oh, see, the Ancient Ram Inn, full of great stories. I know that it's way up the list for a lot of people in the UK that want to go and spend somewhere that's supposedly really haunted. I see. I just think the Ancient Ram Inn is just full of stories from the late John Humphreys. I mean, yes, it's a medieval building. Yes, it's very old. Yes, it could have ghosts and things in it. I was very, very cold, and it was just cold and dusty. And yeah, I wasn't massively impressed by the Ancient Ram Inn. I don't know if anybody else in the chat has actually been to the Ancient Ram Inn and what they thought of it. I just think that you need to, with the different stories that John Humphreys used to say about the succubus and incubus and pagan sites and sacrificial, a lot of it has been proved to be absolute nonsense, not rooted in historical fact whatsoever. And but yeah, to stay in an old medieval pub or ex-pub, it's very interesting. I just found it very dusty, dirty, creaky, and I didn't feel anything, to be honest. But if you were down in Gloucestershire way, then it's well worth checking out, I suppose. But like I said, I didn't have a massive, great experience there. Skirridin, Abergavenny in Wales, beautiful place. Used to have. I know that the landlord has now changed now, but they used to have a great landlord. And the Skirridin is again full of full of history, full of ghost stories, full of poltergeist activity, supposedly, full of just lots and lots of people in the bedrooms upstairs meant to have had a lot of experience in that place. I'm going back next year, which I'm super, super excited about, to spend some more time at the Skirridin. It is don't take the piss, Chris. Hey, there's nothing wrong with my Welsh accent. Anyway, yeah, it's just a brilliant place. Thoroughly recommend it if you're down South Wales area to just check out the Skirrid Inn. Um, Great place, really, really lovely. And like I say, it's got that great combination of real history, real sense of history of the place, but also wrapped up with these ghost stories, which is always just the best, in my opinion. I love it. Where's next? Oh, see, this is the one. This is the one. I've never been to Borley in Essex, and for obvious reasons, for those that know about Borley Rectory, it burnt down in the 1940s. But you can't love the paranormal without loving the history of Borley Rectory and reading about it, and the whole Harry Price investigation with Borley Rectory always fascinated me. The place, I've got books and books on it upstairs, and yeah, I think one day I'll have to go to the Borley village. I'll have to go to, obviously, the site of the rectory and the site of the nuns' walk, when the ghost of a nun's meant to have been seen walking by. And obviously, like I said, visit the church. I just think I just need to kind of, it's one of those places, I suppose, where if you're interested in ghost stories and you're interested in the paranormal, well worth reading about Borley Rectory. Obviously, it's not there anymore, but yeah, definitely one I think that anybody who's got a fascination with it should just probably, just hang out. I'd be quite kind of, I'm pretty sure they've got a lot of people who live there. It's just a small little village. Probably get a bit sick of actually walking around the village and asking about the rectory and probably asking about the church. And I know the church is particularly prickly about investigations because people end up going in there uninvited and unannounced, and I know they've had issues in the past. So, but I just think it's one of those places where it's absolutely fascinating when you read the extent of the ghostly apparitions and the events that happen in that place over a significant amount of time. Then yeah, well worth looking at. Okay. Hey, now then, where I'm living at the minute in Gainsborough, Lincolnshire, there is a place called the Old Nick Theatre. It's actually the place of my very, very, very first, apart from obviously where I live, but my very first ghost event was at the Old Nick Theatre. So yes, it's a theatre, but prior to that, it was the police station, the Victorian police station, and it was used as the magistrate's court for the town as well in the 1800s. It still has the original police cells. The cells, there's like female cells, I think, from the 1920s, but also there's older Victorian male cells there as well. It's now obviously a theatre, but it's a very, very small theatre. But you can still go below into the old original cells. Had some very odd things happen there. I mean, I heard groaning from the empty police cells that just continued, and I could not pin it down exactly where it was coming from. And it was the first time when I did an investigation where something was thrown, poltergeist activity, where this object was thrown from an empty space and the object landed by my feet. And it was the first time I'd come back from a ghost hunt investigation and was just racking my brains. Like, how the hell did that happen? How did it happen? What is going on in this place? So yeah, absolutely kind of loving that place. Like I say, if you're around in Lincolnshire area, Old Nick Theatre, it used to be quite cheap to get in. I think it's a little bit more expensive now. But if you're part of a ghost event company, you could probably get in there for about 30, 40 quid, something like that. But yeah, had some very odd poltergeist activity and groaning and things like that, inanimate voices and things. So yeah, it's worth checking out. Okay, last two. Green Street, Enfield. I could not do 12 locations without talking about Enfield. It's for me, it's probably where it all started in terms of my interest. Yes, I had things from childhood, but the reading, This House is Haunted by Guy Lyon Playfair really cemented my interest in the paranormal. We tried a few years back now. The Ouija brothers and myself and Dale were so close to actually getting into that property. The current owners don't want anything to do with it in terms of ghost hunters and giving interviews and things like that. So yeah, it was one of those places where I was desperate, desperate, desperate. Having grown up thinking about the Enfield Poltergeist case and the Janet and Margaret saga and all of that kind of thing. And most people see all these famous photos of Janet and Margaret, levitating apparently. Um, but yeah, I was so close to kind of getting in, but then the owners decided to change their mind and charge a lot of money for an interview. I mean, I'm talking. Well, they turned down thousands of pounds from, I think, mainly Steve Griff and the Ouija brothers for an interview. They turned that down because they said that they had a TV company offering £100,000 for an interview. So they turned us down. But yeah, we were within a couple of days of getting into that place. Gutting. But yeah, I went there. I went to Green Street when I went down to. Was going to be interviewing Chris French at the Goldsmiths University down in London, and whilst we're down there, I thought I'd got to stop off the Enfield House, as you do. So yeah, really fascinating. And last but not least, it has to be. It has to be 30 East Drive in the good old Pontefract. How much do I say about 30 East Drive? I've said all I need to say about 30 East Drive in the past. I just very, very briefly. Yeah, people would go and drink because it used to be. If I ever mentioned it, people would take a shot. Hang on there. But absolutely, I used to think it was an absolute con. In all honesty, and I've said this many, many times before. For many years, I spent hundreds of hours in that bloody place. I thought it was a con. Thought it was a money-making scam. Thought it was all hype. There was just so much people were saying about the bloody place, and I didn't get it. And then, yeah, and then very much everything changed, and yeah, experienced something which I was undeniable. And like Diane and a few other people were there at the time, and yeah, it's just I think. Oh yeah, Kay was saying Steve watching from the reruns last night. He took his family for a sleepover. I would not take my family for a sleepover in that place. I'm sorry, I just wouldn't. It's Steve knows that place is haunted. I just, and I just think, it's psychologically hard for a child to deal with that kind of place. I've got to say, and personally, I wouldn't have sent my kids there. All great entertainment. Kids may be absolutely fine with it. I just think you're kind of on a bit of a dodgy ground right there, because I know the stuff. There is something that's going on in that place. I just don't know if I would. I just don't know if I'd put that onto my kids. I've got to say. Right. So those are my 12 places. So first proper, obviously proper chat. All right. First question. What's yours in terms of your favorite haunted locations and things like that? Do you have a particular favorite? What obviously I've mentioned 12. By all means, if you've got others which you thoroughly recommend close to where you live, I'd love to hear about it, because those 12, those are just 12 of some of my favorite places that I've been to. There's lots of places I've never been to yet. I've never been to Chillingham Castle. Would love to go to Chillingham Castle. Would love to do an investigation at the Tower of London. Don't think I'll ever get a chance. But if you have a place which you might have heard of in your town, city, village, wherever, and you think it's well worth checking out, please do tell us, because I do love hearing about new locations and places which are a bit new and a bit different, because a lot of places we tend to go around the same kind of locations. These ghost event companies go to the same places. It'd be nice to kind of hear it from different locations. So look, Ian said most of us I've got over the years is the True Crime Museum in Hastings. Obviously, yeah, really interesting. I mean, I've not been to there. Obviously, I've been to Hastings once, dropping Ian off actually, but I've not been to that particular place. Castles and Ruins, always good. There's a place. There's a castle in Wales, and I can't for the life remember it. Um, but yeah, you can't go wrong with the castle. The only thing I'd say with castles is you get a lot of. It's really hard to obviously pin down certain noises. There's lots of drafts and all those kinds of things. But just the history of a castle is always good. Share it, Cobalt Dragon. Where in Ontario, Canada is a good place to visit? Where should we kind of hang out? If I ever went to Canada, where's good? So look, went to Elizabethan House in Great Yarmouth, which is brilliant. Was there with a team of 30 split up into groups. I love that. Nicely. So did anything happen at the Elizabethan House? I've been to Great Yarmouth for holidays, when you're a kid, but I've not been to Elizabethan House. I would love to go to the Merchant's House in York, where I think it was the Merchant's House in York, where underground they're meant to have seen a whole, was it legion of Roman soldiers march through this kind of cellar area. But yeah, that's one place. Let's have a look. What else have we got? Toll House Jail, another great one in Great Yarmouth. Let's have a look. Helfanag in Brecon Beacons. Nice. I've not been there. Like I said, I've not been to that many places in Wales, and Wales has got such a brilliant history. I mean, I went to Anglesey and all the castles around Anglesey Way. Some amazing history in Wales, and I need to kind of get out there more around Wales because the castles and the history and all of that it's absolutely fascinating to me. Let's have a look. Tim, Scared In, fantastic place. You get left alone to investigate, and if nothing happens, at least you've had awesome beer and amazing food. Jesus, Tim, it's all about the beer for you, man, isn't it? High Courts of Justice in Nottingham. Yeah, I went there, and I really enjoyed High Courts of Justice. Again, it's got a really good sense of history about that place. Loved it. There's kind of different elements to it, different layers with that place. Really enjoyed that, and the caves underneath Nottingham are kind of cool as well. That's well worth checking out. That's just the place in Ontario, Cobalt Dragon. Was it Eldon House, you say? Eldon House Grand Theatre. Nice. Oh, see, Craigie Noss. I would love to go there. I think sadly, I think the reason I want to go there is because I saw it on Most Haunted one time, and it just looked like a really cool place. This is the old series of Most Haunted. When it was less shit. When they were kind of really interested in locations and history and all those things that Richard Felix used to kind of bang on about, and I really like the look of this place. Yeah, I would like to go there. I've passed it, but I just would like to stop off there and investigate that place. It just really fascinates me. Yeah, keep them coming in. I'm loving this. Chris, history really teaches about our land. I think it's the history, the history. I mean, the ghost stuff is great as a side note, I suppose. But when I go to a place, it's the history I love most of all. It's finding about a place and the different levels, the different layers, the different stories, the legends, all of that kind of stuff. It's and place Warwick Castle. Now then, I remember obviously going to Warwick Castle, but I've never investigated Warwick Castle. I've been I've been a couple of times as a tourist around there, and it's got some great locations. Obviously, there's the dungeon area of Warwick Castle is amazing. There's that tower, and I can't remember. It's probably called the Ghost Tower. They mostly are, which is meant to be where that murder took place in one of the towers of Warwick Castle. And again, I love the history, and they've got the oubliette in the dungeon as well. Very atmospheric place. I loved it. And yeah, I'd like to go there. I would like to investigate Warwick Castle, at night away from the crowds, because it's a hell of a castle. It's a hell of a place. And if you've not been to the UK before, I think Warwick Castle is one of those that has to be on people's lists of somewhere to kind of head out to. Let's have a look. Oh, Hey, Mark, you're right. Lived an investigation in my home city, Durham Castle springs to mind. With ghost monks apparently seen from the knees up and a ton of history. Beautiful little city as well. Yeah, do you know what? I've not hung around in Durham. You know, I've only driven past it, which is a bloody shame because I know the cathedral is stunning, and I've been like I said, I've been that way, but I've never stopped. I've got to stop off in the place. Um, and that whole thing about ghost monk, there's a place where obviously I'm from Northamptonshire, but there's a place in Cambridgeshire called Kimbolton Castle, and Kimbolton Castle is where the let's get it right, Catherine of Aragon, you know, Henry VIII's first wife, was basically imprisoned there for most of her life, and her ghost is meant to be seen there. Very similar. Um, Meant to be seen from on the original Tudor level. So I think obviously part of the legs can't be seen because they're on the original, the original flooring of the Tudor flooring of the time. But the Kimbolton Castle is now a school, like a private school, so that you can get in. And always been fascinated by those kinds of tales of ghosts which can only be seen from a certain height. Love it. Let's have a look. Who else we got? It's not. Yeah, that's a good shout, Phil. So Breville's Castle. I've never been there. I think it's obviously again it's one of those names a little bit like Chillingham Castle where it just gets banded around, and it's well worth, I think, wanting to go in, to see if you can actually get in there. Amityville House. Do you know, I honestly don't think Amityville House is haunted. Just from what I've heard, from what I've read, it's a bloody great story. But I think it's one of those, Ed and Lorraine Warren fabrication things for a good book and TV deal or movie deal. I mean, I wouldn't pass it up if somebody offered me to go in there. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be good. Bolsover Castle. I've been to Bolsover Castle. Yeah, really lovely place actually. Well worth checking out in the Peak District area, Derbyshire. And Bolsover Castle is just that's a really really nice place. And I think it was used for kind of entertaining the royalty and things like that. So yeah, it's got a great atmosphere about the place. Good atmosphere. Yeah, like I say, like I say, I'm gonna have to check out that place because like I say, it comes up again and again and again. Bagdale Hall. I'm just enjoying kind of like chatting about these different places. If the house I lived in Catford is still haunted, tell us about the place in Catford, Lisa. What the hell was going on in Catford? I mean, I was gonna to be honest, I was gonna be talking about ranting and raving about the paranormal, but I think this is much more entertaining. It's just I like sharing about these different apparently haunted locations because I'm quite sure there's some places that I've mentioned and some places that people have mentioned in the chat that others might just incline them to go and visit. And a lot of these places, if they're not English heritage or if they're not a big charity, some of these places are very, very kind of small charity run. So it's anything we can do to kind of help out smaller places, smaller locations is all good in my book. Margam Castle. Yeah, it's another place I've not been. And again, Margam Castle keeps coming up in a lot of conversations around somewhere places haunted. There's the SS Great Britain as well down in, I think it's Bristol way. I'd love to go to the SS Great Britain. That's a fascinating place. I've never investigated a ship. I'd love to do that. I just find that would have its own kind of atmosphere, and I know obviously it'd be full of kind of creepy things and creepy creaking floorboards and stuff. But yeah, well worth doing that. Say Lep Castle and Charville Forest Castle, and yeah, Ireland has some amazing haunted places. I know America does, and people obviously talk a lot about some of the big American places. But Ireland's going to be a cheaper place to get to, quite frankly, and it's got its own weird and wonderful places to go and investigate, I think. Hell's Corner of the Tunnels at Dover. I've not been there. No, but not got there yet. No, I mean, and it's a bit yeah, um, yeah, the what's it called? Y oh, I can't remember. Blah, blah, blah. I'm just thinking now. What's it called? The Hell's Cave? I can't remember what's the name for them. I can't think of the place now. Either way, um, there's so many places. I mean, when the great thing I think about the UK actually is that there are so many haunted. We've got such an amazing history. It's full Hellfire Caves. Thank you, Ian. Hellfire Caves. We've got such an amazing history. It's incredible, actually. You know, we are so lucky to have so many castles and dating back to the Norman conquest and before that. You know, got all the Anglo-Saxon stuff. You got the Roman stuff. We are kind of spoilt for choice, quite frankly. And I know that it's a strange thing that seemingly so many ghosts are from the Victorian era. And but yeah, it's a you know, to actually kind of pinpoint um some of the most, you can't really kind of pinpoint the most haunted place in the country. There's just so many. There's just so many. And as soon as you go down one avenue, there's a whole load of others to check out. Okay, that's enough of this. let's we'll move on from the locations and things, and I shall tell you kind of this last 15 minutes, I'll tell you a little story, and then we can probably finish with a bit more chat as well before we finish off. So this little story this is called The Christmas Bride. Now, apparently this is rooted in, I don't know, there's probably elements of truth with this story. I don't quite know the extent of the actual truth behind it, but it's around what used to be a church called St. John, and I think it's an area of Bolton in Northamptonshire. Now, before it fell into disrepair, I think in the 19th century, it obviously fell into disrepair. But there is a great ghost story around the St. John Church. Now, a couple of hundred years ago, as the story goes, there was a bride and groom, and they got married. And the bride's meant to have this beautiful red hair, as I've tried to do with these lovely AI images, like you can now do. So the bride's meant to have this beautiful red hair. She married this chap, again, a couple of hundred years ago, but the groom was supposedly died on their wedding day. I don't know what from, whether it was, obviously it could have been typhus, it could have been anything, but he died. And obviously and then very soon after, he was buried in the grounds of the church very soon after their wedding. Completely grief-stricken, the bride supposedly couldn't carry on dealing with the death of her husband, so she committed suicide and killed herself, apparently in or around near the grave of her husband. Now, so as the story goes, the ghost of this bride is meant to be seen on Christmas Eve. This is where the Christmas thing comes into it. So there's meant to be the ghost of this woman with red hair is meant to be seen hanging around or around the area of St. John Church on Christmas Eve. And so the story goes that if you went to that church on the particular night, then you may see her. But there is also the thing that if you were to see this woman, then very shortly after you would die. Now, how this kind of relates apparently to a true story. There was a chap in the 1800s called William Parker, who was just a very, standard kind of guy. And he was walking past the church, or the church as it was then, on Christmas Eve one night. And he happened to see this red-haired woman, and very attractive. And they got talking. And the red-haired woman told him that in 4 weeks that she will come back for him, and she'll be there in 4 weeks' time. And for them to be together in 4 more weeks. So he basically went home and told his family about this strange occurrence of this woman that he had seen in the church grounds, and this red-haired woman. And his family apparently were horrified, absolutely horrified that this they'd heard about this story about this red-haired woman, and they were horrified about it. And they told him not to go, but obviously, him being him, he decided that he would go back. And so exactly 4 weeks afterwards, he went back and died exactly 4 weeks to the day. And apparently, this is in parish records that this William Parker, that's not the real photo of William Parker, by the way, that's just another AI image. William Parker apparently met this redhead woman on the 24th of December and died on the 20th, exactly 4 weeks later, on the 24th of January, 1876. So, if you happen to be near St. John Church on Christmas Eve, the story goes that do not start talking to the redhead woman who's meant to be hanging around the churchyard, or you may meet the same fate as William Parker. See, I love that kind of stuff. There we go. So yeah, I mean, I had to fish with a slightly kind of. I mean, like I said, it's not a proper ghost story. I mean, it's a strange thing, ghost stories at Christmas. I know it goes back to, it goes way back past, way before the likes of Charles Dickens and things. Obviously, talking ghost stories around the fire and things like that. It goes back to pagan times. But yeah, I just find it a very strange thing about, telling ghost stories around Christmas. It's not the kind of time you'd expect to tell ghost stories, but I like the idea of telling stories around the fire and things. But yeah, very, very much around folklore and things like that. Redheads for life, not just for Christmas. Oh dear. Right then. Okay. So, like, so I just wanted to kind of like just finish off, I suppose, with just a kind of slightly ghosty type story. And I suppose, because I said this would be a Q&A, and I've not done much questions and answers and stuff. So by all means, guys, fire away if you've got questions for me, whether it's about the haunted locations, whether it's about from previous ghost hunting or anything at all like that. Just like I say, fire away. I'll kind of, in this last 10 minutes or so, I'll answer as many as I can. And yeah, I've just, what's funny about this is go on, bloody hell, Mark. All right, look, they are all right. We'll plug your new video, Mark Boner. There we are. Look, coming up this week, you mentioned Kimbolton Castle. Hitchingbrook House in Huntingdon is so of stories of history and hauntings. Would that be some kind of upcoming video there, Mark, for Dead Cold Paranormal? I think it might be. They are plugged for your Dead Cold. There you go. Go and check out Dead Cold Paranormal for his Hitchingbrook House episode coming up very, very soon. There we go. How's my jingle nips? My jingle nips are, jingling. Oh dear. There we go. Right. Let's have a look. Any questions? No bloody questions. Come on. give me some questions. Give me anything at all. Like I say, it's only for the last 10 minutes or so. So you won't have to have me jabbering on for much longer. You'll be pleased to know. But surprisingly, I've just found this really easy tonight. It's trying to am I wearing stripy tights with this outfit? I'll leave that for you to imagine. What do you think? Yeah. Oh, go on, Tim. Go on. You can. I think you can plug your beer making videos. By all means, like if we can get you a couple more subscribers to your beer making channel, then by all means, let's do it. Okay. What's she put? Who's your first guest in the new year? So first guest straight away will be the guys from Haunted Magazine. It's coming up on the 8th of January. So that'll be the first ones. So that'd be good. Because I've met them both, absolutely lovely guys, and yeah, I'm really. It'll be just a really nice kind of funny chat, I think, because they're just just seemingly just very relaxed, very good, got a great sense of humor, and they've got a really nice kind of they've got the skepticism, but they're all there for to promote the paranormal in the best way possible. So yeah, really interested and really interested. Wait, looking forward to that one. Favorite bit of research kit on investigations. This, and like I said, just this to hand. Look, Tascam, voice recorder. This has been, obviously, my most go-to piece of equipment, more than anything else. Well worth getting a decent voice recorder with external microphones. These are the external ones here. None of that internal Panasonic crap that you can actually get. Yeah, so these things, I need to get more of these actually, but certainly walking around with a voice recorder, that's my best bit of equipment. All the other stuff, I've had KT meters and Mel meters and all that kind of stuff, but I just don't bother any of that, I've got to say. just for the record. What's this? There we go. Let's have a look. Just for the record, do you think East Drive is haunted? Yeah, I do. It is. I just think it takes a very, very long time to get the evidence you need, but it's there. But it took me hundreds of hours to get the proof that I wanted and that I was looking for. But absolutely, when you're getting knocking and banging from an empty room and then stamping footsteps above your head when there's nobody upstairs, it's undeniable, got to say. Let's have a look. There's this question here. If you could be visited by one of the ghosts from the Christmas Carol, which one would it be? That's a cracking question, Louise. So what do I want? Ghost Christmas present, past or future? That's hard. When you actually think about it. Probably Christmas present, because I want to see what bastards are talking about me behind my back. There we go. Then it's not as scary as the one from the past. And it's not as scary as the one. The scariest one's the one for the future, isn't it? Let's have a look. Who do you most admire in the paranormal field? Ooh, that's a really good question. There's obviously some skeptical academics, the likes of Kieran O'Keefe. You can't go wrong with Kieran O'Keefe. Chris French, again, is incredibly skeptical. The only problem I find with Kieran and Chris is they can they'll deny this, I'm sure, but they'll say that everything can be explained psychologically, or can be debunked. And even obviously, and I like that in the past, I've done an investigation with Kieran, and when something happened right in front of him, he would still deny it, and it drives me up the bloody wall, because he absolutely will not admit that anything is kind of paranormal, even when it blatantly is. But I've got huge respect for them. And to be honest, anybody who does things in the right way, and is debunking things as they go along, and that they're not so reliant on equipment, or if they do use equipment, they're very they're kind of skeptical of what kind of results they may be getting, that kind of thing. I just think that if anybody's going into this for the right reasons, for the right purposes, not doing it for fame or attention or ego or anything along those lines, and they're constantly kind of going through it with an open mind but a skeptical mind, that's just what I want. That's always what I've always been kind of banging on about and been wanting for years, to be honest. And the only problem I have now is it used to be that people would, so I'm going to go on a rant now, but I'm trying to stop myself from going on a rant. People, the problem that used to be would people would look at the TV and people would kind of investigate like Zach Bagans does. That's now kind of stopped. People were then kind of becoming a little bit more rational, which was good. But now the problem is there's more and more people who were trying to, again, austerity and people having no money, but urbexing becoming normal. And that's a real issue now, I think, is people trespassing. I think that's the main issue right now in the kind of paranormal world, which needs to kind of be stopped. But I honestly don't think it will be. I honestly don't think it will be because it's far cheaper to investigate free locations. Let's have a look. Oh, Louise is just banging in these really hard questions. Wishlist investigation team. I'd have Kieran there, definitely. Richard Felix. I want Richard Felix back in properly. I want kind of because I love Richard Felix. I definitely want him. I want him banging on about the history of a place. What a fella he is. I think he's. I mean, he is so fit and agile, and he's still doing his ghost walks, and he's still got the enthusiasm of a 10-year-old kid. I absolutely love Richard Felix. But also, I mean, I'd investigate if anybody who is there for the right purposes, for the right reasons, and skeptically minded. But it's so hard. There are so many great people out there. Yeah, it's like I said, it's a really tricky one, that one. So, Louise, I oops, sorry, not that one. That one, Louise. Are you saying, would you like to be part of the investigation team, Louise? But yeah, I mean, there are so many great people out there, and what I love actually is that that this podcast seemed to kind of have like-minded people joining us every week, and people who are genuinely interested. And I'll always try. Sorry, banging on about podcasts now, but I'll always try and have a range of different people. Some who are just doing it for the investigation, some who are kind of academically minded. Yeah, I mean, and so it's just having that fascination, that interest, that and without slagging people off, because I used to do that a lot, and mainly to Most Haunted, to be honest. But yeah, I think I've done it. I'm not trying to kind of I'm trying not to kind of have a go at other investigating stuff. There's people who do that really, really well on YouTube, so I'm not part of that. Do you think you can be followed all your life by spirits? I don't think I've ever been followed by spirits. I think you've got to go looking. I honestly don't think they follow you. All right, Tim. All right, bloody hell, man. All right, you can be part of the investigation team as well. Jesus. God, these people having a little fit because they can't be part of the investigation team like Louise and Tim. Jesus Christ. You'll have Diane going, cough, cough. Anyway, right. I think that's about an hour. Bloody hell, that went quick. That went really, really quick. Yeah, so January, like I said, I've got Most Haunted guys coming in. I've got Amy talking all about Shropshire and the legends and the folklore of Shropshire. I'm going to have a guy or two from the UK Paranormal Society talking. And there's also, obviously, I'm going to try obviously getting a guest in there every week. And if I can't, then I'll be doing this silly nonsense talking to you guys about different things. And it could just be topics, and it could just be a range of different things that we could chat about. But I will always endeavor to try and get like-minded people, guests in, who have got interesting accounts or interesting points of view on the podcast. And for those of you that have kind of, because I've only had like a couple of months really doing this, so I just want to thank you. Before we go, to thank every single one of you if you've subscribed. Thank you so much. Obviously, we're kind of still pretty much brand new, so if you've subscribed, thank you. If you want to share this around to different groups, or whether it's on Facebook or Twitter or wherever, then honestly, it makes so much difference. We've only got like a couple of hundred subscribers. I'd love to kind of gradually make this bigger and bigger as we go along. Have bigger and better guests, and hopefully have, yes, have some famous people on, but also some less famous people. Anybody who's got a bloody good ghost story, or anybody who's just genuinely interesting, and something's happened to them. So yeah, I'll always try and get those guys on as well. Any of you at home who has had an experience or would like to share it and feel okay sharing it, love to hear from you in the new year. But for now, first of all, just to thank you once again. Thank you for all your chat. Thank you for all your comments and the support that you guys have given me since I started this thing. Because, like I say, it's still pretty much brand new. So thank you, and Merry Christmas. Genuinely Merry Christmas. Have a fantastic New Year. Spend time with your family. Eat too much. Drink too much. Get fat. Watch the King on telly. Have Brussels sprouts. Whatever. Right. But have a fantastic, fantastic Christmas, and I shall see you back bright and breezy in January. All right. Cheers, guys. Thank you.